Okay, we are now live.
Great. Welcome, everybody. This is Claudia, the chair for the Greenway Committee meeting for April 7th. Wow, we're already into April. Isn't that exciting? So, let's see. Let's talk about the agenda. Have you all looked at the agenda? Lucy just put it up there for you to see it. Does anyone have something they need to add to the agenda? I don't see any hands. No one? Okay. So can we say everyone else accepts this agenda, right?
Aye.
Good. Let's see, and for ex officio members, we've got Chris. I don't know that I can see anybody else. No. All right. Let's see. Let's do a call to order and have each one of you introduce yourselves, and I will call on you. Mike, you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Mike.
And Sunny?
Hi, I'm Sunny Carr.
Richie?
Hey, Richie Rydell.
Leanne?
Hi, Leanna Joyner.
Thank you. And who else do we have? Chris?
Hi there, Chris Trail.
Okay. And Lucy? And Anna? Anna Sexton?
Hi, I'm Anna Sexton. I'm not a part of the Greenway Committee, just here in attendance as city staff.
We appreciate having you.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so we're missing a few people. Oh, Kenny. Kenny's here. Where are you, Kenny? Can you introduce yourself? Did we lose you? I don't see Kenny. He was here. Okay. That is not a quorum, is it, Lucy?
No.
Dang it.
Maybe Kenny just had to take a call or something and he'll be back in.
Let's hope so. Okay, well, let's move on. Have you had a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting?
You know, I think you do have a quorum, Claudia.
Do I?
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, you have 5 members, and I think you have a total of 8. Kenny is one of the absent ones, so
Okay, well, maybe he'll be back.
yeah, Elida and Kristen are the 2 that are not here.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right, so did you all read the minutes?
They're up on the screen right now. Very brief.
So take a minute, review, and see if you have any additions, or if you accept, raise your hand. You accept the minutes. Of course, Richie would. He took them.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm going to abstain from the vote. If that
Okay.
is acceptable.
Richie, I think you were gone from this meeting too. These are my notes. That's why they're so short.
Oh, okay. Well, can we accept those minutes? Say aye, or raise your hand.
I
Mike?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. I don't believe we have any public comment either, do we, Luce?
No.
Okay. So we accept the minutes from our last meeting. And the next item will be Lucy's update.
Okay, well, I always add this transportation project list, which is what is created for the Multimodal Transportation Commission's information as well. I don't normally go through that whole list, but it has all of our Greenway updates and all the other projects that the transportation related capital projects that we're working on now. So it's here on our agenda every month, but we don't normally go through that. But for highlights on our greenways, everything is going great with the French Broad River Greenway. We've run into no complications in the past month. We are still scheduled to finish this greenway at the end of July. Keep your fingers crossed we don't have a really wet springtime. That might slow it down. We've been telling people that we were not opening it till August, so that gives us a little bit of wiggle room in case there is heavy rains that would cause delays, but so far so good. The Swannanoa River Greenway, Greenway project that we're working on right now is at 90% designs. We're meeting with partners like Duke Energy, who's doing our lighting plan for that greenway, DOT, who we need encroachment agreements for to go under the bridges, and the property owners who we need easements for. We're currently working on getting the easements from the property owners. So far, so good, no delays. Overall, though, we do have a funding shortage from our last round of cost estimates for construction, and it is pretty hefty. It's $2.5 million of funding shortfall that we have. We have made a request through the city to the TDA. As you know, they have an annual grant program, and the city, like everyone else who's seeking funds from the TDA, had to submit their requests. I believe the deadline was last month, or maybe it's this month. All I know is that I did what I was supposed to and wrote up my request and sent it to the planning department that sent every request to the TDA. So the funding will not be available until October if we do get it, but that would not bother us a bit. October funding would be perfectly seamless in our construction. So fingers crossed that we get that funding. I also applied for STBG funds through the Metropolitan Planning Organization, but that funding is a little bit more complicated. One is that it would not be available until 2027. So that would be a big bummer to have to wait 5 years to get this. We'll break the project into 2 phases and wouldn't do the second phase until after the funding's available. So it's not the preferred funding method, but it is a backup request that we have in the pipes too. So, I still am rooting for the TDA funds mostly, but this is a backup plan. The Nasty Branch Greenway updates are that we have, we're still moving along with our final permits for that project. Then we will have to submit our bid documents to the DOT for their approval. That takes about 4 to 6 weeks for their approval. And then we would be able to put it out to bid. That takes, a month to get the bids. If hopefully we would receive some and be able to choose one, and that would have to go to council for their approval before the project starts. So we're still a few months out from any construction, but we are moving right along, and so far no complications. The North Rad Tip project we have a request for letter of interest that was posted about a month ago, and through an addendum, we have postponed the process for that request. And the reason is because we met with the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, and our division of the DOT, and the highway or interstate folks in Raleigh to discuss Riverside Drive. You may or may not know that they also have a project on the STIP for Riverside Drive as a road improvement, and have been talking about creating a multi-use path along the road in that project. So we met with them to clarify who does what, who's on first, who's on second. And it makes a lot of sense to us and to the DOT that the city would work on an off-road greenway from the end of the rad tip, which is just south of White Duck Taco, to Pearson Bridge Road, which is at the one light on Riverside Drive. It's the road that goes over the river at French Broad Outfitters. If we were to work on an off-road greenway in that section, the DOT would work on a multi-use path from Pearson Bridge Road to Broadway. And that, in my mind, from our feasibility studies that we've done so far, is the most logical, most feasible alignment that we have. And the reason is because north of Pearson Bridge Road, it will be very difficult to keep the greenway along the river because the railroad crosses at Pearson Bridge and goes behind all the businesses heading north to Broadway. Plus, there's the transmission lines that also move behind the properties at that point too. So a combination of a river, a railroad, and a transmission line is really very infeasible bit of greenway and all that too. So
Right.
A multi-use path is probably the most logical facility from Pearson Bridge Road heading north to Broadway. So we're postponing the request for letter of interest as we are waiting for the state's transportation improvement plan. It's called the STIP, and it will be coming out in the middle of April. And once we know that the DOT's highway project does still have money in it to do the road enhancement and is still on the right timeline of land acquisition in 2024 and construction in 2025, that we will release the request for letter of interest with another addendum clarifying our scope of the project and create a new deadline for submittals.
Okay.
So I just said a lot. I hope if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to speak up. But I'll move on unless there are questions. The last one on our list of updates.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Actually, back on Swannanoa,
Yeah.
the Greenway Committee came up with a preferred light standard. When Duke is doing their analysis of the lighting, will they be using our preferred light standard?
The Mitchell.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that because the Greenway lighting that we have in the RAD is the dead tulip that
Yes.
I would agree is not my favorite light, but it would be that if we were to continue our lighting from the French Broad River Greenway to Swannanoa, we should maybe keep the same kind of light and have the Mitchell light on the West Asheville Greenway that the DOT will be building.
Okay. I didn't know if we wanted to keep the dead tulip just in the River Arts District as kind of a synonymous with River Arts District and unique to that, or if we
Right.
want to continue it on.
Well, let's see if we have time at the end of this meeting, we do have time to choose still. They're just coming up with a lighting plan for, from a technical standpoint of lumens and how many lights they need and all that. And I think the Mitchell and the, I can't even remember their proper name for the light, but we'll just keep calling it the dead tulip.
I think it was Sanibel.
Sanibel. So the Mitchell and the Sanibel have the same, I think they have the same lumen radius. So I think we still have wiggle room for that.
Good.
But we'll put that in the parking lot for now and hopefully get back to it. The last one on my update list is the Reed Creek feasibility study. We still, we have our contract signed. Haley Burton, who is helping with this meeting today, works in the transportation department, will be working on that project with us, and we'll be releasing a request for letter of interest as soon as we get it written and it's approved by the DOT. So we're still a couple months out from posting that, but it will still come. And the gist of that project is to do the feasibility study for the remainder of the Reed Creek Greenway. So on the south side, it's from Elizabeth and Broadway, where the Reed Creek currently terminates, and it will go through Montford, heading towards that pedestrian bridge at Isaac Dixon Elementary School. And then according to our master plan, the Reed Creek Greenway goes over that bridge and crosses Patton Avenue at Clingman Avenue, and it terminates at the future trailhead of Bacote Branch. So that's the corner of Hilliard and Clingman. And on the northern end of Reed Creek, the Greenway right now ends at the intersection of W.T. Weaver Boulevard and Broadway, but the corridor continues down Broadway to the corner of Broadway and Riverside, which is where the North Rad Tip will end, and the Woodfin Greenway will also terminate there too. So those three greenways will terminate on that intersection. So that's the project. Like I said, we're still a couple months out before we post that request for letter of interest.
And both of those sections will be included in that feasibility study.
That's correct. Yeah. And then I also heard today that we applied for funding through the MPO to look at the section of Patton Avenue downtown that's east of the Jeff Bowen Bridge. And the interstate project. And so we requested money to do a streetscape for that area of downtown as the interstate project ends, right smack dab in downtown, and how it would tie in best with our central business district. So right now, there's a lot of details that need to be worked out because it's a design build project that the DOT will put out for a contractor to work on, but it is unclear just the details of how a cyclist coming over the bridge in either direction of traffic ends up on Patton Avenue, and also for pedestrians, just how do our bike lanes and our greenway and our sidewalks all queue down and tie into Patton Avenue as our downtown gateway.
Lucy, will that also include how the bike lane would connect with the downtown bike lane on Patton and College? Or is that too far away to include that?
I am not exactly sure. That's a good question. We need it to, because we don't have a good answer there. And we are doing the College Patton Bike Lane project right now, which ends at the very point of Pritchard Park.
And that would leave like a 3-block gap between Pritchard Park and Clingman.
Right.
That would be kind of odd.
Yeah, so that doesn't make sense. And so the scope of work is still relatively malleable. So we'll make sure that
That's
we'll try as
included.
hard as we can to get those 3 blocks in there.
Yeah, because it's going to be really technical on how to get the cyclists from the right-hand side of the road on Patton to the left-hand side of the road. That's going to be a little tricky.
Agreed.
So I think that really should be included together,
Okay.
if it's possible.
Right.
There should be some, it's sort of like your Greenway Connector project.
Right.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions for Lucy? But I think that was very good information, Lucy. Thank you very much. So, the next thing for our new business, we want to talk about the timing for this meeting, because we've run into problems where several people have not been able to make the meeting on a regular basis, and it's unfortunate that they can't be here today either, for us to see if there's another time that would work better. I know that Elida said it would work better for her to meet earlier in the day when she came to our last meeting. And I'm not sure what works really well for Kristen. But I'd like to just find out from you all what works with you if we were to change our meeting. Anybody have any problems with meeting earlier in the day?
I'm very flexible. I would just, and I can make it work no matter what, but I'd rather it not be at 9 or 10 in the morning. That tends to be when I'm very busy with work. That being said, if that works for everyone else, I can make it work.
Okay.
I would second that. Definitely not before 10. I don't get up before then.
Okay. Not before 10 for Mike. But other times during the day is fine, right?
Yeah.
I probably would have difficulty doing it any earlier in the day than this, honestly.
Okay.
Work conflicts and also childcare, etc.
Yeah, you got childcare issues, don't you?
Yeah. So this time works for that because
Would any other day of the week work for you, Richie?
Possibly almost a Thursdays. That's what this is. Thursday's my good day. Maybe Monday.
Maybe Monday, okay. Do either Mike or Sunny, can you work other days of the week?
I'm fine with any, as long as I have advance notice, I can make pretty much anything work. So I'll bow out and let other people that have other things to schedule around be more part of the decision.
Okay.
I'll chime in.
But a little bit later on this same Thursday schedule work. I mean, if we started, it wouldn't be too much later, but 4 o'clock start or something like that. Would that change anything? Or do we know their constraints? Because otherwise we're just kind of talking about options that might have.
Well, I need to talk to them. There was some comment, one of them said, I don't remember. Do you remember, Lucy, whether it was Elida? Seems like Elida wanted to meet earlier in the day, didn't she?
I think Kristen said that now she isn't teaching the class that she used to teach, and so she has become more flexible than she used to be. I feel like I saw that somewhere.
Oh,
It's kind of nicer in the afternoon because then we can go and have a beer afterwards. We do in the morning, that kind of. Yeah.
Strike
Just
that from
saying.
the record.
what?
I said strike that from the record.
Just saying.
Kenny, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't really have a huge preference, but keep in mind if we're going to switch to in person, that might have an impact. So I think it's really important to hear from the two who aren't here, who
Here.
seem to have.
I agree.
Yeah, because I mean that might compound their issue if they have to travel to get to an in-person meeting.
Okay. Leanna?
Yeah, I echo what Richie said. It would be really difficult for me to come in earlier in the day, just with work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the main person was the earlier in the day was Elida, if I remember correctly. But I'll talk to her and see what we can find out. We just may not be able to
Yeah,
meet earlier.
for Elida, she said that mornings or lunchtimes are better and Mondays are usually better than Thursdays. She also said that if it is a problem, that she would be willing to step down
Yeah.
if we needed someone who could make this time.
So would lunchtime work for anybody? Sunny, would that work for you or not?
Well, it's fine for me, but two people already said that it definitely doesn't work for them, that they can't come until after 3. So I wonder if the question isn't, would Monday work? Because it sounds like maybe Elida could come on Mondays at 3, or is that incorrect?
That's what it sounds like. She could come on Mondays.
Would that work for all you guys? Thumbs up, yes. Oh, not for Chris.
Uh-oh. I'm just ex officio, so don't mind me.
Yeah.
But I've got a standing 3 p.m. Monday meeting.
Oh, dang. Well, okay.
And
Jack,
when we
what about
return,
Remind me that date one more time. Sorry, I just hopped on a little bit late.
would Monday afternoon work for you?
Monday of next week?
No, just any time. We're just trying to come up with a new meeting time because
Sure, yeah. Mondays in general are good. Usually in the office anyway.
Okay. Kenny, did Mondays work for you?
It's not great, but once a month I can make it happen.
Okay. Mike?
he said
Sunny, you
yes.
said yes. What about Leanna? Could you work Monday afternoons?
I could do Monday afternoon. Can I ask? Mondays also tend to be holidays. Would we end up running into cycles where we're bumping up against those kinds of things? And then do we end up having to reschedule, or what ends up happening with those instances?
What do you say, Lucy?
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
sounds
even,
like we're reinventing the wheel because one person can't make Thursdays at 3.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Also, we have our regular meeting place reserved for Thursday afternoons. It's, I can't guarantee that we would have the same place if we change
Okay.
the days.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, I'll reach out to Kristen and see if, in fact, she has changed her class meeting time and if she can come. Okay, well, let's move on. And we'll just keep going and trying to figure out what will work. So, Lucy brought up the fact that the Swannanoa Greenway is short funding and that she has applied for funding through the TDA. So she and I were talking about it might be handy to write a letter of support to the TDA to express our desires. And I think that's a good idea. What do the rest of you feel about that?
I think that's a wonderful idea.
I agree.
Claudia, that letter comes from us as a committee.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I support this.
Or it can come from me, but with all of us in support.
Yep.
I thought, I was thinking about that a little bit today, and part of my idea was to talk about how the greenways, since we finished the Wilma Dykeman Greenway, we have found that there is a big increase in the amount of usage. And then when we had our outreach to the community, one of the things we heard from people is they want to have more greenways and they want to have connections to more places. So I thought stating those two things would be very important to say. It is extremely important that we meet the needs of our community members. And by getting started, that's okay, by getting started on the Swannanoa Greenway, that would help us do that. And, go ahead.
Just to make a point about how that kind of letter is framed, I'm assuming, would this be in the tourism development project grant cycle? Is that what this would be, or is this separate from that? But regardless, I guess
Yes.
I'll say, this is the TDA, so their mission is visitation and heads and beds, so to speak. And
Right.
so while community needs, I think, are implicit with that, the more we can make it about new business growth and visitation and tourist use of this project, and then of course harken back to the fact that they so generously contributed to the existing grad tip project, and this is connected with that. But I think that you got to say that stuff in addition
Yes.
to our community and neighborhood needs.
And I completely agree with that. I think that we need to, just mention how successful the River Arts District Greenway is, how much it's being used by visitors, how it's become a real draw to the city. It's become a real asset for tourists and locals alike.
Yes.
And then also we might mention, and Lucy, you could tell me, can we put a plaque thanking the TDA members by name on the Greenway?
I'm not positive if we can put a plaque with the board members' names on it.
Because it'd be great, this Greenway was sponsored in part by TDA in 2022. Board members are blah 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 blah. Because can't hurt to stroke their egos a little too.
Good point.
Just saying.
Well, even if we can't list the individual board members, I think we could say funds were donated by the TDA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lucy, could we find out if we can put them by name or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, before I write the letter, that would be good.
This is Anna. I've had this similar question asked regarding some other memorial plaques, and the Parks and Rec department has moved away from plaques in park spaces and doesn't really do that anymore due to limited capacity and ability to maintain them. The alternative that they gave me for folks to pursue if they want is the city has a tree and bench program. And Claudia, this is something similar that maybe came up during, I'm not sure if you're in on one of those biped task force meetings about potentially purchasing or sponsoring a tree or a bench for Janet or Barb.
Right.
It would be the same, I think.
But in this case, we're not asking for $5,000 for a bench. We're asking for $2 million.
Yeah, $2.5 million.
So putting a name on a bench for $2.5 million is a little, it's completely appropriate. I think we need to look at getting benches in the park, in the greenways, using that program where we could put names on the benches. But for something this big, I think we need to have a little bit bigger.
Well, it might be something that we could do at least on the website. Don't you think, Lucy?
Yeah, that,
Funding was received from the TDA, and maybe even then we could list the names of the individuals. But
And-
it's something we need to look
Yeah.
into.
And a sign at the grand opening and
Yeah. Okay.
we'll ask.
A letter sounds great. I'm really excited to see us support that.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, I think those are some really good pointers that Richie and Mike and y'all have given me. So it'll make it a little easier for me to write. I will work on that and then send it out to you all so that you can approve of it or tell me whether I didn't do something that I should have. Okay. Does that sound good? Great. Okay. Okay, Lucy is going to present some information to us about boards and commission restructuring.
yeah, I will try. I do not know a whole lot about what's happening with the board and commission restructures myself. I have the times that we've had the opportunities to weigh in have not been good dates for me. I've been busy with other things. So this is the project page that you can go to, and you can get to it from your agenda. There's a link there. But the Gwen Whistler on council and a number of staff have been interested in restructuring our boards and commissions because we've got a ton of boards and commissions. Each one of them has staff liaisons. Each one of them are very focused on their own particular topic, like ours is Greenways. And we're finding it hard for all of those various boards and commissions to be able to reach council and give them guidance. So the restructure of the boards and commissions would have 2 focus groups with chairs and vice chairs, with community stakeholders, and then 4 workshops with 51 participants, and then also emails, voicemails, and conversations to be able to converse with council. That's about all I know, you guys. I was hoping that maybe Jessica could come and talk about it a little bit more because she is one of the staff members that is working more closely towards this. I do know that the city of Raleigh restructured themselves in a similar way for the same reasons that the boards and commissions were taking up a lot of staff time, and the communications and roles of the boards and commissions were unclear and still hard to reach council with their suggestions. So, and it appears that in Raleigh, it's working much better, more inclusively with the smaller number of focus groups. But as far as what it does for you and being able to promote Greenways specifically, I am not sure how it works into the restructuring of the board. And so Anna or Haley, if either one of you know more about it, or if you were able to sit in on the presentations, please feel free to chime in.
I have not sat in on any presentations and don't know anything that you haven't already shared.
Yeah, I don't have any additional information.
It just seems real sketchy to me that we would get heard. I need some, maybe I should talk to somebody in Raleigh and see how it is working.
Yeah, that would be good. If you have any concerns or apprehensions about the way that this is happening, there's an email on this project page that you can get to through your agenda to weigh in. As I said, Gwen Whistler, who is one of our council liaisons,
I'll talk to Gwen.
you can reach out to. Kim Roney is also our staff liaison, and so if you feel comfortable reaching out to Kim Roney to ask, that would also be appropriate.
You know, I participated in the information session.
Oh, good.
And provided feedback as part of that session last month. And I know they had 2 or 3 of those sessions. It seemed like a lot of similar questions were coming up from a lot of the participants that were there. I don't know how much impact that had. It seems like they're continuing on with this effort to do some pilot restructuring anyways, like kind of creating a committee to figure out how to restructure the committees. You know, I am sympathetic to the needs to figure out how to streamline and make things better, but it does seem like it's a complete overhaul when maybe some tweaks and adjustments could be done to address what they're trying to achieve. I think that's my 2 cents based on what I learned in that workshop and heard from others.
I'm really glad you were able to go, Leanna.
Yeah, me too.
I'm kind of curious, and I don't think there's an answer to this question, but if this shift were to be made, whether a body of folks like this could shift to be the task force model, similar to the bicycle pedestrian task force, which is, my understanding, is not a formal committee, but still has kind of the ability to make recommendations and at least be organized in some fashion. But yeah, I mean, similarly, I recognize that city staff is, inundated, and that transparency is a great thing. But there's, something to be said for people who have dedicated times of being knowledgeable on these subjects and constraints and what can and can't be done. So yeah, hopefully some middle ground can show itself.
Okay. It's hard to know. The unknown. Thank you, Lucy.
That's the link to the project page.
Okay. Do you want to fill us in on the gap plan?
The gap plan, first draft is out now. I sent you the link. It's not even the entire document. It's the chapters 1, 2 through 9. Chapter 1, they're still waiting on the last bit of public input to wrap up the first chapter, which is mostly introductory. And the last chapter is our action plans, which we will have at the very end too. But the thing that I wanted for us to talk about today was the chapter on greenways. So let me work my way down to that chapter. Did anyone have a chance to look it over before today?
I did. It took forever, but I actually thought it was well organized and easy to understand, and really laid out the priorities in a easy to read, as long as you have some time to read, way.
Yeah, I just stopped sharing for a second, hoping that my computer will move a little quicker. Just give me a second to get to the Greenway chapter.
I looked at it too. Is there the follow-up Close the Gap survey that's going out to the public soon? Maybe that you're going to touch on that, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it was out to the public. It closed March 21st.
Okay. I filled it out from board and commission side of things because they had two separate, but I never saw the link, or maybe I missed it, come through for general public, or I would have maybe shared that more broadly. So it might have just been my oversight. Thanks. Did anything change then from that process, or same largely?
One thing changed. There was a proposed greenway in Haw Creek that connected Bullman Park to Masters Park, and it went through the Happy Valley subdivision, and pretty much unanimously that subdivision responded in the survey very negatively. They did not want to see that greenway, so it's been taken off of the master plan now. I've also heard from other people in Haw Creek about it, and they would like to see it on, but I told them that they needed to work as a neighborhood group and come to some consensus. And once that happens, I'd be happy to come out and work with them more on what that concept. I mean, you know, Greenway master planning is very conceptual. It's not even, you know, we're not trying to propose exactly where the greenway will go. It's just the connections that we're trying to show. So if they can reach some consensus, we'd be happy to go out and work with them again, and we can create an addendum for the plan if it takes a while for them to figure that stuff out. But from a technical standpoint, it was a tricky greenway to implement anyway, from the terrain and things like that. So I was not too upset to take that proposed greenway off the plan because it didn't very feasible.
I went through and read a lot of the comments, and yeah, Haw Creek, there was a lot of negative comments, but a lot of them had to was concerned with the fact that a lot of people thought it meant that they were going to take away part of their property, and that's a big issue. So I think that the information that was presented to them was not very clear about what it would and would not do, and so a lot of people were afraid that the greenway would go through their yard and they'd have no choice about it, and that property would be taken away from them and stuff. So I think that part of the problem was the way the information was presented to the Haw Creek people.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a letter that went out by one of the members of the subdivision that was very alarmist and made them think that the greenway was going to come out there when they were asleep and would be built through their property without whether they wanted it to be or not. They did not take the time to watch the video or read any of the additional information that showed the steps of greenway planning, which was out there. So it was unfortunate, but it's also not the first time I've seen stuff like this happen. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was shocking reading the comments that.
Yeah. Also, our survey was up during the time that we were doing the Merriman Avenue public engagement with the DOT. There's a lot of comments about Merriman Avenue and how fascist bike lanes are. There's some juicy comments in there.
Fascist bike lanes. Oh my goodness.
So there's a lot, but there's probably a way to take the ones that are pointed because of a certain thing, like that Haw Creek Greenway or the Merriman Avenue study, that we could still get some good information from the survey.
Yeah, well, that's always the thing. There's people that are negative about a lot of stuff, and it's hard to get around it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Old business is the Greenway and Trail Etiquette campaign. So we have a few issues to deal with that. One has to do, there has to be money. We have to get design. There's a lot of different issues. I think the main thing I just want to make sure that we are in agreement with is that we need signs that help to let people know how they should behave when they're using the Greenway, and how fast they should ride, and when they stop to talk or admire something, how they need to get completely off the road, so that off the trail, so they're not hindering the movement of others. I think that's the basic thing that we're trying to work on. So Lucy, where are we in the sense of getting permission? What do we have to, all the steps that we have to do before we could even get signs up?
Well, we've come up with some concepts, but we really haven't come up with an actual plan that I can send to the Parks Department for a maintenance perspective, or for my department's approval. So what we need to do is find some seed money to create the plan. And I know the last time we talked about it, and Mike Sewell was here, that Asheville Unpaved is also interested in working on an etiquette plan.
Right.
And that we've talked about doing some web-based education, such as videos and a page people can go to read more about etiquette, but also the signs at trailheads and on the greenways themselves. So to me, it's a multi-pronged approach. And it would be great if we could get a small grant from Bikes Belong, or one of the bike groups, like maybe Blue Ridge Bike Club. Or
how much money do you think we'll need?
I don't know, like $5,000 would probably be a good start.
I think the State Recreational Trails Program grant offers a safety and education grant in the amount of $5,000. I'll link to that here in a second.
If we're looking local, I know New Belgium offers a bicycle advocacy grant up to $5,000. They just ended this year's cycle, but if we wait 12 months, we can get on the next bandwagon.
Do you know anything about the process? I guess I could talk to Mike Kraft about that.
It's got to be from a 501c3, so I don't know. We'd have to work with an organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty open-ended, but it's their focus area is bicycles. So.
Okay.
What was the name of the office again, Jack, that you brought up?
I'll put the link in the chat here. It's the North Carolina Recreational Trails Program. Yeah, same state system that does the big RTP grants, but they have a twice annual safety and education grant program.
Wow.
Is that right? They haven't posted the deadlines and dates for this year yet. Typically, the main grants are due or open in April and are due in June and awarded in September. But I'm seeing the timeline for last year posted, and they have a sample grant application. And yeah, it's kind of like the others. You reach out to the regional trails specialist. I think is Amanda Smithson in this area. And yeah, it's twice annual. It's probably one in the spring, one in the fall. And we've gotten a couple with Piscaria sorba in the past. They're pretty easy to get, and they're exactly for that safety and education. So I think signage would be a good fit.
Well, that would be a good fit then.
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat. I think I pressed
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
think of some others if I can.
Couple things. For one, Claudia, assuming the flyer is successful this year, which it looks like it's going to be, I'm interested in seeing if we can pursue Blue Ridge Bicycle Club funds for this. I think.
Yeah. The grant that the advocacy committee works on is $1,000. If it's over that, then it needs to go to the full board.
Mhm.
But I'll send Lucy that application form.
I think that maybe if we could develop something that could be used regionally elsewhere, then that could make it attractive to the full club.
Yeah.
And then also I know that Drive has some unassigned funds with no plan that I know
Who
of.
does?
Drive Not to Drive. Some past funds that I don't think there's any plan to use those in any way, so it's a possibility. But there's no grant applicant. I mean, that would just be a request. And then lastly, just in already we've talked about this for over a year and people are using it every day. And so I wonder if there is a good, better plan and if stenciling is an option, like on the pathway, because, it's different than a roadway. You don't have the oil slick that usually makes stencils not stick. It's not high traffic, so it's not going to be worn away all that fast. And, coming up with some stencil templates, even professionally done, would be pretty cost effective just to get some sort of, slow down, look around, leave room kind of messages until we can get better signage.
Well, that would look better than some of those plastic signs too, I think. But they wouldn't be permanent. Of course, bicycles may not wear as much as a car tire would wear.
Yeah, I just put New Belgium's small grant in the chat as well. I think those are due the end of March each year. Maybe there's some flexibility, but I think the criteria would be a good fit for this signage, and if the timeline worked out, it could be applied for next year. But yeah, I'd ask, Kraft might know of anything else in the intermediate.
Yeah, I think
But this
you
is
would.
definitely a good fit.
There might be a nice way to leverage one grant with the other too. So, there's the opportunity to take it from
That's true.
a small pilot to a little bit bigger pilot.
If they don't have that you have to spend the money by a certain timeline, that might work. Good ideas, folks. Thank you.
I am very sorry. I'm going to have to peace out.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, Leanna.
Bye.
We appreciate it.
See you next time.
Yep. Let's see, mall dash grants.
The RTP one looks like the minimum is $10,000 and it requires a 25% match.
That's for the Trails Program grant. If you scroll down past that, that's for like trail construction, land acquisition, things like that. Yeah, though I don't think it specifies the cost for that. There's only like a small blurb about it at the bottom for safety education.
Okay.
If you scroll down, there's like a guy with a chainsaw. That image right around there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like it's like a set amount. They have 2021 draft application on there, and I'm trying to think of what the budget was. I think it was somewhere. I think they have the same requirements for match, but it's scaled down for sure. Yeah, that 10 to 100K is for trail construction. Same link. But yeah, I've not seen this year's posted on there, but typically they're open around now. So I might reach out to Amanda to see if that's going to be posted soon. I'm guessing with that whole new Complete the Trails program and everything else right now, they're probably pretty busy.
Right. 9639522. Okay. Thanks.
Not to put Mike out there, but that AOB would probably be a good applicant for that. I would say Riverlink would probably not be in terms of the relevancy to that. But if AOB wanted to apply, we definitely would be a supporter, or maybe somebody else.
Sorry, I had my mute button on. Let's see, we finished everything that's on the agenda, I believe, except for ex officio updates. Do any of you have updates? Chris?
We're doing trail work days every Saturday for the next couple months out at the Falconhurst Reserve. And that is about all I've got.
Trail work days where?
At the Falconhurst Reserve in West Asheville.
Oh, okay. Great.
Part of the unpaved Asheville network in an unofficial way.
Got an update from our end. Karen Carnolan Park is moving along. Our design plans are at 100% at this point and are going into review with the city. We've got a contractor selected that will respond to bid based off those final design plans, and we're over halfway funded. We're also looking at potentially utilizing a TPD grant or TDA grant as well. Potentially, maybe, we're not quite sure yet, but we're really hoping to break ground on the park itself either this fall or in the spring. And that'll include just about a little over a quarter mile of Greenway, but will be part of that missing link between Carrier Park and Amboy Road River Park. To pave Greenway path, a lot of educational signage about the land and the area and the community, and also a lot of grading that'll restore kind of natural stormwater retention, pollinators, and phytoremediation-based meadow species to keep the remediation of the former landfill site going strong.
I think there was a problem with taking out that horrible left turn, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's on the Carrier Park side.
Yeah,
that's. I mean, I don't know if I can get into the weeds about this, but I know that the plans to put in a potential roundabout with the whole Amboy Road extension project is kind of keeping that at a minimum. Ideally, in the future, there'd be a bridge, straight into Carrier Park across. Is it Cannon Branch or Moore Branch? I think it's Moore Branch there. If you remember, Casey Park side is like 12 feet higher than Carrier Park. It was raised over time, and so there's some topographical issues, and apparently bridge construction is not cheap. So that's going to be like a phase 2 kind of thing. We're hopeful to add that at some point to alleviate stress, but not at this time.
okay.
Can I ask a question about that? Exactly what you guys are talking about, and this is probably a Lucy, but maybe somebody else knows if this has ever been discussed. It's just like, so where you're talking about the left turn, Claudia, it's as you're heading toward Hominy from KC Park. Why couldn't the paved path, obviously, I know there's cost associated, but I mean, why does it have to turn so hard left right there? Why can't it go down that hill at an angle so that you're not trying to make that hard, 90-degree turn?
Just to clarify, do you mean on the Carrier Park side, how it kind of turns up that hill?
Yes.
Right after you go past that little guardrail and you're on a sidewalk that's only about 4 feet wide, and then you have to make a full 90-degree turn on your rollerblades or your bike or whatever you're on.
Right. It's really hard to negotiate, particularly if there's people coming both directions.
Yeah, the path's not wide enough, and I just thought, I mean, why is it such a hard turn? Why can't it just kind of go at an angle and make it easier for everybody?
They might have to take down trees. That may be part of it. I don't
It's
know.
pretty steep there too. Yeah, I'm not sure. That was before my time on any sort of involvement there.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jack. That's good information both you and Chris gave us. Now, Lucy, you wanted us to come back to the lighting plan?
Yeah, if you would like to talk about it, let me show some examples. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so these are all of the different kinds of lights that Duke leases. And as you know, the city is leasing all of our lights from Duke. There is an exception, however, and that's on the French Broad River West Greenway. They will not allow us to put electric lights in that corridor. It has something to do with the transmission lines, being able to shock the lights or something. This is beyond, it's out of my bailiwick, people, but there's some kind of electric danger of having the lights underneath the transmission lines. So we are considering solar lights in that area, and it will be a pilot project for us because there'll be lights that we need to purchase and maintain. And so it sounds easy enough, but we got to figure out which department will do it and which department will pay for them and blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah, I'm surprised that Ken Putnam would go for that.
I am too. But so far, so good. And so let's see, the Mitchell light, where's that?
Is it the Mitchell or?
Is there another page?
Is it the deluxe?
It might have been.
Scroll down. I thought it was, and
I know we wanted something that wouldn't allow the light to go up.
I thought it was the Monticello or.
Oh, the Monticello.
Yeah.
That may be it. Yeah.
So this is the light that is being designed. Well, see, you also are able to pick your poles. Let me go back to the light. Come along. Yeah, so the Monticello is what will be used on the Greenway that the federal highways will build with the I-26 connector project. So that Greenway that goes from Haywood Road and over Jeff Bowen Bridge into downtown on Patton Avenue will use this kind of light. And then as you all have seen in the River Arts District, we use this one. Sorry, it's going all over the place here. The Sanibel, which in this picture is on an arm that goes to a pole, but on the ones that are in the Greenway, they do not have the arm that you're seeing right there. They just have a loopy arm that connects to the pole.
I mean, they look like a
dead tulip.
It's really big, that globe
Yeah,
cover,
it is.
and it hangs down. It has an arch in the arm, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Spiders love them.
Yeah, they do collect a lot of spider webs. So yeah, the question is, should we use that design a light? I'm not a fan of this light, but the fact that the Swannanoa Greenway is a continuation of the French Broad, as far as our user experience goes, you just go across Broadway and Biltmore, and you're on the Swannanoa River Greenway.
Right.
Should we use this Sanibel because it's also a river greenway and it will have the same look, or should we switch to another kind of light?
So I haven't been on the Greenway at night. How's the light that the Sanibel produces? Is it a good amount of light? Are y'all happy with it, I guess?
I haven't been on it at night either.
I use that stretch a good bit at night, and it does have the effect of sort of creating just a spotlight over a section instead of wide cast light.
Okay.
It's not so bad in that section because you have a layer of street lights right above you.
Yes.
That's not going to be the case in a lot of the sections of the Swannanoa River. Will be away from the road. So yeah, that's a great point, Sonny. You want something that broadcasts wider, better.
Okay.
Has anyone seen the Monticello? How it sends out its light? You know where there are any?
Probably Monticello.
In Virginia? No, I don't know.
And it does look like it, I mean, just based on being glass or plastic or whatever all the way around, that it would send out a good amount of light.
Yeah, it does.
I think that one's fine. I don't know why they have to all be the same. Will the users notice? I don't know.
I doubt it. I doubt people would notice. I don't think that it has to be, just because it's on the river, that it has to be the same. I think the fact that the River Arts District is a special district, that can be different, it seems to me. And if we're wanting to have a certain look for all of the greenways, that might be better to just stick with something like the Monticello, which we've already chosen. That's the way it feels to me. And I don't know that there's going to be a lot of complaining about something like that, as long as it's good lighting.
Well, and if you cross a major roadway, it might feel right that you may not notice the light type changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
If I had to channel my inner complainer, the Monticello has a colonial look, and possibly if lights can have, I don't even want to go down that road, but like a less stigmatized look might be something that's a little more modern. And either one of the ones on either side of them the mini bell is somewhat reminiscent of the existing light on the existing greenway, and then the one on the right of the Monticello looks reminiscent of our city hall. Oddly enough, the 3 tiers.
Yeah.
I'm also not trying to retread already settled issues.
Also, in the Greenway project that we're working on Swannanoa right now, we need to have lights under the bridge. So these lights with poles that we're talking about here are not going to be the lights that we can use, and we will have these bollard
like
lights.
that floodlight. Do you think it would be more like the floodlight?
No, we're not allowed to install lights on the decking of the bridges either. So there'll be bollard lights, just low, I think 3-foot high bollard lights just under the bridge.
Oh,
but they aren't ideal for the whole greenway because, first of all, we have to purchase those and maintain them. But second of all, they passed relatively lower
right.
lumens and the halo of the light field is smaller than any of these Duke lights. So, yeah, you're right. Maybe the Monticello might be too traditional to be combined with the Bollard, which is a very modern, sleek, stainless steel look.
Unfortunately, all of Duke lights are pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And they have a horrible choice. I mean, you would think
Yeah.
there would be more choices than this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they set out for greenway lighting. These are more like traditional street lights
Right.
in their catalog. That's all they offer.
And
So,
it's a pretty small catalog.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
And
Very small.
this one, the Enterprise, I've seen in a lot of other cities. And let me get back to it.
I think that one's too modern, though, for Asheville.
It is very modern.
And does that have a cover on the top of it?
It does. It only gives downlight.
Okay.
I'm not even sure that they offer it anymore.
It's too contemporary, too corporate looking.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this floodlight.
Lucy, you were saying that DOT won't let you put lighting on the bridge.
Yes.
Is that we're doing two bridges. There's two bridges part of the I-26, and we're putting lights on the retaining walls next to the roads on two of them.
Really?
Yes, and they've approved that, and actually that's in their request for betterments from the city to pay for. So I know that Ken's aware of that.
Okay.
So we're looking at putting them on State Street and Amboy Road underpasses.
And what do they look like?
They're ugly, but they attach to the wall.
Interesting. That's why if you go down College Street, which is right next to the YMCA,
Right. The bollards, the lights on either side.
yeah, you'll see street lights right at the edge of each side of the bridge. Same reason maybe if they're working on an interstate project, they're allowed to install them themselves, but they won't let their partners install them.
Ken didn't like those. He said that the homeless people keep knocking them out.
Because they would keep them awake, I'm sure.
Right, they're sleeping on the bridge and they keep breaking the light fixtures.
Oh, damn. So that really makes it a problem.
Yeah. So let's see if I put it back in this park. What will this light look like? Something like that.
It looks like a little military hat.
It
From
does.
an English military.
Or a British property.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw those.
Here's the Monticello. We'll go back to the Greenway.
Yeah.
Well, keep thinking about it. And like I said, I think we still have time to choose. So this does look very traditional, like more of a city park or a street than a Greenway.
Sidewalk area.
And we can always change the one that goes along the I-26 because it's so far from the last committal date on that. I mean, they don't need the final. We can change it all the way up until we're ready to put it in, and that's going to be a couple years from now.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Do come out with better lights.
after we get them ordered and put in, that's when it'll happen, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
also, by the time we're ready to put them in, Duke could change their choice, their
Yeah.
selection.
Yeah, true. Well, are there any agenda items you'd like to talk about in May?
Before we do that, I'd like to again talk about different ways that we can do some advocacy with the city council to get more funding for MUPs and for sidewalks.
Oh, that was something I was supposed to talk about. Thank you. It wasn't on my agenda. Dang it. It's the budget time for the city. And that was another letter I was thinking about talking about, was having a letter in support for ongoing funding for greenways. We don't have that. And what happens is every time we want to build a greenway, we have to rustle around and try to find funding. So it would be nice to get the city to have a pot of money that we could always have available for doing plans, for doing signs, for doing whatever needs to be done for greenways. Don't you think that would be nice? Instead of having every time having to put together something and rustle around and see if we could get them to approve.
We do not have any recurring funds for the Greenway program.
And that includes maintenance, right?
No, the maintenance is different. That's in the Parks Department, and they have a formula for how much
for budgeting
maintenance needs to be.
But for doing suitability plans, for coming up with trying to find some other money for different projects, we don't have it.
Yeah. It looks like we have a lot of greenway money, and we are very busy building some greenways, but the truth is that the push for those greenways happened about 10 years ago, and it takes this long to get through the planning and finding the grant funding. But yeah, as we go through the years, if we don't have recurring funds, our activities dry up.
Do you guys feel like the current council would be supportive of this? I feel like they pretty much tend to only be interested in equity and homelessness at this point in time.
Well, that is a very important thing.
Yeah, they put out their priorities, Mike said, and they were affordable housing and homelessness, and then improving and expanding existing city. I can't remember, but greenways would fall into that, and expanding existing city services.
Okay.
But it's not spelled out very clearly. And I do know that in order for us to be able to implement our ADA plan, which we need to do, it would take 27 years and $3.5 million a year to get it all done.
Wow.
And right now we have $250,000 a year recurring funds for ADA and $500,000 a year for neighborhood sidewalks.
Yeah, sidewalks are really important for people to be able to get around.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can have greenways, they can fill in some of the gaps for sidewalks too.
Exactly. I think we really need to both write a formal letter to the city as a committee, but also work with different groups to see about getting more more support from the community to talk to the city council and support greenways, sidewalks, and ADA. Obviously, that would help the bike community, the disabled community, and it is about accessibility to Asheville for everybody. So it is an equity issue also.
Yeah, and you could probably pin it to the recommendations of the Close the Gap plan. So annual recurring funding for planning and then also local match, because that's what we run up against the most is there's no dedicated pot of local match funds for otherwise, I mean, we just need usually 20%, not just, but 20% to get state funds that come through the MPO. So that would be big. And then,
Well, even the NCDOT's complete streets funding requires a 20% funding, 20% matching for a lot of their improvements.
yeah, that's what I'm referring to
Yeah.
for the most part. And then as far as other agenda items, unless we want to keep talking about that, I was kind of curious where things stand with the last bond cycle and sidewalk construction, and whether that's all allocated or there's opportunities to direct any of that. And then this might not even be on the table, but is there another bond round being talked about? Because when the bond rounds are released, the potential funding pathways are decided when the vote for bonds comes up. So if that's what's on the table, we'd want to get ahead of it.
To my knowledge, no one's talking about a new bond yet. And the funds that we have for bonds are allocated to particular projects, and they haven't given up the ghost and pushed things around to projects yet. So I don't think there's a lot to talk about.
That's fair.
So this letter could include a lot of different things. What do you think is most important for us to put into it? Besides just, reoccurring funds is important to have so that we don't have to be rushing around all the time.
Recurring funds and properly funding infrastructure for transportation, for walking, bicycling.
So it's good. I think it is good to make it more broad than just greenways.
I think that'd be an easier sell if you lumped greenways and sidewalks together. What do you think, Lucy?
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that also falls in the equity line.
Exactly.
Making it easy for people who don't have to use or don't have cars to be able to get around.
Right.
So we are planning to take this to council May 24th.
Okay.
There's
So
a chance that it could be pushed back to June 14th, maybe. But right now we're scheduled to be going there on the 24th. So
I have time to write it and bring it to our next board meeting.
Yeah.
And then we can tweak it at that meeting.
Right.
Okay.
And any other ways, like Mike was saying, that you can reach out to your networks and have
Get more people to write letters as well. I think that's very good.
And coming to the meeting on the 24th for public comment is also a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
You guys probably all saw this announcement, but if you didn't, I saw an announcement that there's a grand opening for Silverline Park on the 21st.
Oh, that's right.
And I drove past there today, and I've been gone for a few months, but I couldn't believe how much progress they've made down there. It looks great.
Oh, good. I haven't been down there either. Is that April 21st, did you say?
I believe so. It's a Thursday.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to be in town for that.
I won't either. That's my birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Earth Day.
Earth Day. Oh, that's the other thing. On Earth Day, which is the 22nd, Jean Webb has passed, and they're going to have a memorial for her at 11 o'clock on the 22nd at First Presbyterian Church. It would be really nice for people to be there.
Yeah.
Because she was a real definite pusher for improvement of the Rich Broad River cleanups and for greenways and all that.
I'm going to be at the MPO conference. I'll be out of town.
I'll be coming into town that day, so I'm going to try to get here early. All right. Any other announcements or comments or anything? Then I say that our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for coming and giving your input. I really, really appreciate each one of you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.